like himself, and he gave him literally the money. Wow, what a tzaddik. So it turns out, the Rebbe called the musician when he got home, and he said, "Musician, tell me what happened." And he says, "Rebbe, I was in sakana. When I found the 300 ruble, and I wanted to help them, the Yetzer Hara started telling me, 'You're the greatest in the generation.' And I said to myself, it's not good to have too much kavod. If you have too much kavod, after a while you stop serving Hashem so much because you think you're already so great. And I never want to have that kavod. I want to always feel that there's so much more I should do to serve Hashem. And that's why I was willing to endure shame and humiliation and embarrassment, just so that this way I shouldn't come to the poison of gaiva, of feeling that I'm better than someone else." I'd like to tell you a great story about Hakaras HaTov. Hakaras HaTov usually means appreciation. It usually means recognizing that someone did good for you, and you try to repay the goodness by being good in return. So, let's say your father goes and he buys you a new pair of boots. So your way of showing Hakaras HaTov would be by taking your father's slippers that were under the bed and moving it to the front where he likes it. You did a little gesture, it took you 10 seconds, but you showed your father, "Daddy, I really appreciate those new boots. And by the way, here's your slippers. So when you come home after a long day and you want to take off your shoes and get comfortable, Daddy doesn't have to bend down and start, reaching under the bed," which, by the way, for an adult is not as comfortable as a little child to bend down. So that's a simple example of Hakaras HaTov. You showed you appreciated, but not just that you said thank you, but you actually did something, a gesture of goodwill. So there's a story that I read in a book called Hasidic Tales that shows how sometimes you can have Hakaras HaTov to Hashem, and you could do something special because Hashem did something special to you. Now, the story goes that there was a shidduch made between two of the biggest rebbes ever. The Baal HaTanya, Rav Shneur Zalman of Leidi, and also Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev. These are two names in the Hasidic world. They're from the holiest rebbes, the Heilige Tzadikim, Kedoshim Utahirim, these great Goinim, who were literally the leaders of the Hasidic world. And I'm sure they had tens of thousands of followers. And you can imagine the simcha when their children got married. You had one Rebbe and the other Rebbe together. Even nowadays, a lot of times the Rebbes look to make chasana davka with another Rebbe. I guess they know the children will appreciate the godless that they're getting married into, and they also want the best for their children. It's a common scenario. You'll see Vishnitz getting married to Satmar, and Babov getting married, with Skver and things like that. So, in preparation for the chasna, everyone got involved. The bakers and the butchers and all the different workers were making the best food and the best drink. It was going to be a celebration of a lifetime. Two great Rebbes. People would travel from as far as they could to be part of the Rebbe's simcha. People, Hasidim, are close to the Rebbe, so if the Rebbe makes a simcha, it's mamish, a family event. It turns out, after the great simcha, the Rebbe, the Rebbe Yitzchak said, "We have to show Hakaras HaTov to Hashem. He just made us such a union, such a happy occasion. Let's do something." So it was the day after the chasana, and he turns to the Shneur Zalman after Shacharis, and he says, "Let's go do something special for Hashem." So they look at each other. Yes, it was such a beautiful chasana. We're so happy. Now we're mechutanim. We're related. What should we do for Hashem so special today? Every mitzvah we do is special. So he said, since Hashem married off our children, let's go marry off Hashem's children. Which he meant to say, let's go find an orphan who doesn't have a father to help her get married and make a shidduch for her and pay for the wedding. So he said, to come to think of it, he had someone that he knew who was an orphan, and he said, let's go raise money for the chasana. And he said, okay, so how should we do that? Should I call some of my wealthy friends? They'll donate. He says, no, I'm going to go door to door myself, and I'm going to raise money. So Shneur Zalman said to Rav Yitzchak, that's not your covet. Such a great Rebbe to knock on a door and ask for a donation. That's understandable by a Meshulach or a beggar. But you're a holy Rebbe. You don't have to go demean yourself to knock on doors. He said, listen, mitzvah ba yasem b'shulchay. It's better you do a mitzvah yourself. Hashem gave us such a beautiful chasana. Let's make Hashem a beautiful chasana. So he said, "You coming? Come with me." So people couldn't believe it. You don't take a Rebbe around door to door. That's not covered for the Rebbe. And look what happened. They went to someone's house. We'll call him Zalman Leib. And all of a sudden, he takes out a tiny coin, a real small coin, like a quarter. And he hands it to the Rav Levi Yitzchak. And if Shneur Zalman was shocked, what are you trying to embarrass the Rebbe? The Rebbe comes to your house for a donation, and you want to give a tiny little coin? But Rav Levi Yitzchak told Shneur Zalman, we have to be happy with whatever people give and not judge them. So he couldn't believe such a busha. I mean, if I'm already coming to your house, make it a nice check, Don't give me your quarters and your nickels and your dimes and your pennies. It turns out they left to go to the next house, and the man comes out and he says, wait. So Shneur Zalman figured probably he wants to do tshuva, he wants to give a better amount. And again he takes out another quarter and he hands it to the Rebbe. Can't believe such a chutzpah, such a bezayin. But he's not allowed to say anything. Okay. And Rav Levi Yitzchak says, thank you very much. You should see bracha, not tzlacha. And he smiles as if he got a big gift, even though it was a very insignificant gift. And he's moving on. And then again, the man starts coming after him. And this time, he gives a bigger donation, a kavadika one. So Rav Levi Yitzchak said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're troubling you. He says, please, let me be part of the mitzvah. And then Rav Levi Yitzchak turned to Shneur Zalman. And he said, let me tell you what happened. Sometimes a person is a big giver. But then after a while, he sometimes gets burnt out. And it's hard for him to give. He spent so much of his money giving away that after a while, he becomes stingy. And sometimes we have to help people that they shouldn't be miserly. So when I went, I really was going myself because I wanted to help this person. I knew he really wants to give. He has a good heart. But lately, it was difficult for him. So I wanted Davka to go myself so that this way I could help him overcome his Yetzer Hara. And the first time it was very hard for him. So he only gave a little gift. And the second time it was also hard. But by the time the third time came, mitzvah, he was able to give more and he was able to be mishtatif in the simcha. So he taught him a big lesson. That sometimes a mitzvah is there to teach us how to be giving. And we just learned about the mitzvah of Shemitah. According to the Rambam, one of the reasons Hashem gave us a mitzvah every 7 years in Eretz Yisrael to declare our fields ownerless so that poor people can come in the fields is to teach ourselves. Don't just worry about yourself. Care for others. Show other people that they mean something to you. Be generous. Be considerate. And that's one of the most important things. A Jew has to have good midos. Good midos means to care for others, especially people who sometimes are having hard times. I read an unbelievable story in this book, Sha'al Avicha V'Yagedcha, written by Rabbi Yisrael Spiegel, who's quoting Reb Shalom Shvadran. And this book is loaded with great stories, and I want to say all these stories for you if I am zeichet to sub for you. I need a zchus to be a Rebbe in a yeshiva, I need a zchus to be a sub in a yeshiva. Okay, the story is called the wine of Kiddush that was given away for Tzedakka. We're going to tell you what happened. The story is unreal. I heard it. My hat almost flew off. I was literally blown away from the greatness of the story.
It's true.
There was a Yid named Reb Yudel Holtzman. I guess that's Reb Yehuda Holtzman. And he was part of the famous group in Eretz Yisrael that learned in Chatzer Strauss. There was a kailel in Yerushalayim called Chatzer Strauss, the Strauss courtyard. And people who learned there were really great people. Great in Torah, great in Midos, great in Yerushalayim. They dedicated their lives to study the laws of Shulchan Aruch. So you can imagine if you were a member of the Chatzer Strauss Kollel, you were known to know halacha well. They spent their life trying to master what is the correct law of the Torah, and this takes years of studying the Gemaras, the Rishonim, the Achrayim, the Paiskim. And he was one of these great people. What was his name? Let's see who remembers. What was his name? I want to give a treat. Who can tell me what his name is? Because it's important when you hear a story, try to remember the name. Then you can say over the story to someone else. Yes?
Yosef?
Nope. Yehuda what? I need the last name. Close.
I thought you were talking about that story.
All right. You need the bathroom? So why are you going like this? Yeah, okay. All right, no one remembers. Holtzman.
I was going to say Partsman. I was going to say Holtzman.
Okay, so Reb Yidel Holtzman was an outstanding tzaddik. And unfortunately, he did not have his own children. But sometimes a person might not have his own children, Rahman al-Atzlan, but he has Talmidim, or he has his Maisim Tovim, his good deeds, which are also like children. As it says, Eila Toldas Adam, these are the generations of a person referring to his good deeds. There are many stories about the righteousness of this man, Reb Yidel Holtzman. I don't have a picture of him to show you. I usually like showing pictures of who I'm telling stories about. But I'm sure, and if you look in the old storybooks that have pictures about the Yerushalayim of old, I'm sure you're about to see a picture of him. So the story goes that one time he gave away a little money that he had in order to help someone in order to do tzedakka. Now here's how the story goes. Okay, this is really an incredible story, and I want everyone to pay attention. There was a tailor from Paris who was called der Pariser Schneider. Schneider means a tailor. If you know a family called Schneider, it could be they got the name because their grandparents were tailors and they were called Schneiders.
Dan Schneider.
So the story goes that there was a Chayat from Paris.
Was he Jewish?
Yes, he was a Jewish man from Paris who was the tailor in Yerushalayim. You know, these people, you think they might have been tailors? Of all I know, while he was sewing with his needle and thread, he was chazering, the Gemara HaKainis that he learned in Yeshiva. Because they didn't just waste time. Their life was Torah. These Yerushalmi Yidden were holy people. So it turns out, one day this man, the Paris tailor, became sick. And he needed an operation that was going to cost 60 liras. I don't know how much that was, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that it was, $10,000 surgery. It turns out, in those days, it was a fortune of money, 60 liras. The lira was the currency before the shekel. And nowadays they have shkalim in Eretz Yisrael, but they used to have liras. So, people didn't know what to do. They had to help this guy. He was very sick. He needed an operation. He needed medical treatment. So they decided to appoint someone who would be the Gabbai Tzedakka, who would be the Meshulach to go around knocking on doors and announcing in synagogues, please donate money to help